join us here. I want to salute Emily for converting us this place, but also in a special way allow me to appreciate the support from WWF that have been able to make us converge. And so about the echo. So at this juncture, when you look at the agenda, we have the prayer, we have self-introductions, we have welcoming remarks, opening remarks, and then we shall have presentation from CSO hubs and networks, deputy action plan, and then we shall have the plenary and way forward. Maybe just to bring us up to speed, this is a follow-up meeting from the meeting we had prior. I think that not everybody here was part of that meeting because this is more of a small committee, and therefore we shall be building on what we already did the other time. So allow me to request one of us to lead us in the opening prayer. It's always important that we dedicate ourselves. God Almighty.
Confirm with them if they are hearing.
Yes, please.
Confirm with those online if they are hearing.
Yeah. The people online have been requested to confirm whether our colleagues online, whether you are able to hear us. I can see Shamira, I can see Muhindo. Confirm whether you can hear us, please.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's have one of prayer. Anybody volunteer or I can lead us. We can have ourselves and have a word of prayer. Let us some time. So, Lord, our serving master, we thank you for the gift of life. Thank you, Father, that you never convert us in this place. We thank you, Father, that you continue to guide us and enable us to do your good work as we brainstorm in this meeting. Father, continue to guide us. Enable us to be able to achieve our goals together. I pray for this, Father, Savior. Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Yes, amen online. Thank you. Okay, so having had our open recording in progress, let's have a round of self-introductions. Just be brief. You tell us your name, your organization, and just that. That is okay. Starting with me, as I said, my name is Robert Yachla. I'm the executive director of AGNET, the African Greenhouse Network. I'm very happy to be a member of this working group, and I'll be the moderator of the session. We can move in the clockwise direction. I start on my right here, then we can move like that, then we end up the score. So starting with you, madam.
Dr. My name is Adrian Musimbe, Data Planning. Yes.
It's a much Adrian. Most welcome.
This is University Education and I work as programs manager.
Great, thank you so much. Echo, most welcome. Yes, Javier.
Good afternoon. I am Gasta Chiindi, Critical Plus, but also consultant that I've been putting together the integrated action plan for networks.
Great, thank you so much. And I'll be inviting you in the room to make the presentation. Welcome, Mr. Gasta Chiindi. Next.
Bonjour. My name is Anthony Woluba.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Next.
People but also chairing the new organizations for it.
All right, thank you so much. Christine, the clock is ticking on your side. Okay, thank you so much, Christine. Yes, in the corner. Okay, Miriam, we left somebody in the corner. Please kindly introduce yourself. Great. The team from Emily. Next. All right. Great.
Good afternoon.
Good. Thank you so much. Next.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much. Welcome. Next. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, good.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cassandra Rachel with the PNR Solution.
Okay, most welcome. In the corner, Chief Administrative Officer. Yes, thank you so much. So, think that, hey, in the corner, you introduce yourself.
My name is Emmanuel. I work with Emily.
Thank you so much, Emma. Online, we have a team online. Please, if you're online, unmute yourself. I see IT Emily too. That one is who could be behind that. Shamira, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shembo Shamira, and I'm the liaison officer, Emily.
Great, thank you so much, Shamira. Avira is here with us, IT host too. Then Muhindo. Muhindo, are you there? Okay, we don't seem to get him. Muhindo, any other person I've left out online? Good, I like this. Paul Muhindo, are you there? I see Elias, Kima Foods. Elias?
Yes, I'm there. I'm Paul Mlindwa. I work with Tara Civil Society Network. Good to be here.
Great, thank you. I remember you the other time you even made a presentation. Now we have Rita. Rita, are you there? Okay, Rita is unable to speak, so I think that's all with our team online.
I'm the one who has not yet spoken.
Yes, please speak, please.
Yes, I'm Elias Asimu and I work for Kima Foods.
Good, good. Thank you so much, Elias. All right. So our team online, please keep hooked. We need to continue engaging with you, and please kindly feel free to engage in the chat room, and my technical team here will be able to keep us posted as we conclude the conversation. Okay. So at this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Christine. Christine, I kindly invite you to come and give us opening welcoming remarks. A round of applause for Christine. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Robert. My role is simple, just welcome you. I take the opportunity to welcome you all for this meeting. It is a continuation. It's a follow-up meeting from what we discussed on 26th last September. And what we had the CSOs network presenting their action plans, and also the representatives of CSOs also presenting their action plans. We had representatives from Chitara Civil Society Network presented by Mr. Paul Mulimba then. And we also have had a presentation from Kalien's Hub, which was made by Ms. Rita Mwonji. And then we had a presentation from the TVN like the platform that was made by areas representing the host organization for that platform, that is Kima Foods. And we also had a representative from update the Europe representing the we are trying to create a synergy between the national works and the lower level community kind of platforms where we have the hubs working directly with the communities. So we expect that whatever is picked at that community level can be used to inform national level advocacy. So that is why we are creating this kind of platform to bring all of us together. And so whatever was presented from the previous meeting, recommendations were made that we come up with an implementing action plan, which was also planned before under together for people and planning projects. That is a project is supporting the execution of this activity. We are supported by our partners, the Worldwide Fund for Regional Development Office. we're expecting a representative, but I think there's going to be a join or to join later. And on that note, we shall not have the notes on the written because they are not much, they are not here. Key issues came out from the previous meeting. One being the coordination, evidence, based adequacy in the community as networks moving forward to be able for us to promote, you see this, but as catalyzing equitable planning and environmental governance. So those are some of the issues that we are highlighting if we are to catalyze this and if we are to advocate effectively. And from what was raised and recommended during that meeting, we select a resource person that is going to be presenting to us the merged actions. And based on the recommendations that were received, we did a situation analysis, taking visiting the hubs, but also taking ideas that were shared in the meeting. And the output from that is going to inform the discussions in this matter. So we look forward to your active engagement on this assignment, that we have an action plan that is well consulted and that has a point of all of the stakeholders that we are doing. Thank you so much, and I wish us to be very good.
Wow. Thank you. A round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Because all of us in this room, as we saw from the introductions, most of us are either from the hubs, both those online and those are in the room here. We are either from CSO hubs or from the networks. So it is important that we look at the role of these CSO hubs and networks, what's their role in environmental conservation, but also looking at the issues like, for example, community participation, very, very critical. You know, that we're able to have a national approach, but also be able to live in one by having the community coming on board, especially focusing on issues of advocacy, accountability in natural resource governance. We also need to appreciate that there has been evolving, environmental, social, and economic policy issues, especially in the context of the work that we do. A lot of new and emerging challenges that require strategic reflection and adaptation on how we can move together as CSO hubs and networks. So this forum meeting is really very critical for us to be able to synergize further and be able to build on the consultancy report. So as Christine requested, let each one of us really pay attention during the presentation that we're able to meaningfully make contributions for any issue that could have been left out, but also make sense of what we need to do in this stakeholder review. I want to add my voice, although we don't have Silver with us, Silver from the WWF, but I want to amplify the voice of Christine by appreciating the WWF in an era where civic funding is really very, very narrow. It is not easy to really, we can't take it for granted that we have the support of the WWF to enable us to achieve our goals as networks and hubs. So at this juncture, allow me, colleagues, without much ado, to really invite our consultant to make the presentation on the integrated action plan for CSO hubs and networks. The one and only Mr. Gasa Chiinji, who's going to take us through this presentation. I give him at least 30 minutes. I know he's usually good at summarizing. May not even use all the time. But to take us through this integrated action plan, and I want to request the technical team to flag very good. So Mr. Gasa Chiinji, please, Are those online, are you still with us? Can you be able to see the screen? Shamira, please
Yes.
confirm.
Yes.
So we have now a consultant who's going to take us through the presentation. As I requested you earlier on, please kindly leverage the chat room to note down any other technical issues that you would want us to address. So, Mr. Justice, this may you take us through. But meanwhile, as we come forward, the tea has arrived. Please feel free to pick a cup of tea and continue to really engage all the justice system. So that's not a mistake. If you want to present one syllabus, then okay. With my permission, please you can see it. Yes, I think the round of applause, please, as they come forward. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will take you through the compilation of this work. It is not my work, it's work that we have contributed to. And my role has been emphasizing and coming up with the options for consideration in the joint advocacy concerns. I've been looking at the changing operating environment for networks, apps, platforms, and coalitions of the environment and natural resources sector. I am called Gasta Chidi, and I work with my friend, Junior Wamani. We are the chairpersons of the CSO network as well as the FMLR network, but we are also members of the renewable energy civil society organization as well as the Uganda Forest Working. I will take you through a background, and then we shall the background will lead us to the rationale of the assessment. We shall find out the objective and assessment approach. We look at, and then after that we look at the areas covered. We shall delve into key findings of the operation, performance, and implementation of the action plan. Then we shall look at the strategic implications of a very simple SWOT analysis that was done, and then later we conclude with the strategic action plan. To begin with, the background. In the background, we observe that civil society networks that work on, and network organizations that work with civil society play a role in promoting inclusive development, strengthening governance, representing community interests, monitoring climate change, productive use of energy, and advancing a healthy environment. Added to that, it's the role of undertaking advocacy in different fields and areas, such as make sure that the work we undertake is aligned with the societal needs to government programs. This is done through consolidating voices and evidence of multiple organizations to generate a stronger and more credible voice in policy and decision making. However, as the operating environment continues to evolve, especially the reduction in funding and the reduction in civic space, networks are increasingly required that they adapt to new and emerging challenges and opportunities that are emerging. This will create the need to assess their current. This creates a need to assess their current operations, achievements, implementation of existing action plans, challenges, gaps, and identify opportunities for stronger coordination within and joint advocacy for the thematic area of interests. The rationale of the rationale of this assessment is that one of the changes that we have observed in the environment and natural resource civil society organizations is that there is a reduction in civic space in many contexts. This is witnessed in the reduction of participation, access to information, freedom of association, and engagement in the key decision makers. Civil societies face a dwindling donor space and donor base, and a declining availability of financing. There's climate change, which is affecting the social, economic, and environmental impacts, affecting livelihood, food security, water resources, biodiversity, climate and community resilience. There is an increasing loss in biodiversity in biodiversity. The continued degradation of ecosystems in forests, water, wetlands, rangelands, other ecosystems. These developments demonstrate the need for stronger collaboration and joint advocacy, and therefore the need to review and update action plans to ensure that they remain relevant, they remain responsive, they remain fit for purpose. Now, the objective of this assessment was, of course, to come up with an understanding of the selected civil society networks, but also to have an integrated action plan. But specifically, it was intended to, one, assess the operational status of and institutional capacity of the selected civil society organization, both at national level and subnational level, undertake their SWOT analysis, find out the strengths, weaknesses, and threats within the network, to assess the implementation status of existing action plans, to identify opportunities for enhanced collaboration and coordination, as well as joint advocacy, but also, of course, is to develop an integrated action plan that at the end provides a coordinated framework for joint advocacy and collective action. The assessment approach, well, it addressed itself to the current situation and the key challenges affecting the civil society entities, while addressing itself, while focusing on the foundation for development of the action plan. It covered areas, it covered networks at national level, which mainly four networks: renewable energy resource, renewable energy civil society organization, which is coordinated by Environmental Act, and the Environment and Natural Resource Civil Society Organization, which is again hosted by Environmental Act, and the Climate Action Network, which is a lobby organization for climate change in Uganda, but also undertakes climate actions in the country. And we had the Africa Green Health Network, which is headed by our current facilitator, and it advocates for issues of environmental governance and environment and natural resource management. But also, we had institutions at subnational level, the Greater Virunga Landscape Greater Virunga Landscape Platform that is coordinated by Kima Foods. We had the Uplift the Rural Tour, which help communities, especially around Mugahinga with the national parks. We had Katara Women Poverty Alleviation Group that operates within the Vilizi district. We had Katara Civil Society Organization, which operates within the Unyoro and Rwenzori regions. We had another small organization that became part of the assessment, that is the United Organization for Backward Development in Uganda, which has a goal to help the marginalized Batwa to fight land rights, better housing, education, and access to forests. So we had the three types of organization at the national level, at subnational level, and at the community level. The thematic areas which we looked at mainly were climate action, nature-based solutions, which is the ecosystem restoration, forest conservation, environment and natural resource governance, renewable energy, biodiversity conservation, and ecosystem protection. We had the community rights, and rights of participation, with a specific look at Batwa, alternative and sustainable livelihoods, particularly looking at the women group in the Vilizi, and we had also policy advocacy and public participation, but also we looked at eventually the civil society coordination, networking, political action. Those are the key thematic areas. Now we move into the findings. The findings are quite many, but I'll go one by one. The first one is the overall operational status. The assessed networks generally are operational active, although their operation they vary in functionality. There are those organizations that are working well, and there are organizations that are not working well. For example, ENR CSOs, Rexo, Agnet, and you provide a platform for coordination, information sharing, joint advocacy, and collective representation. Until recently, they have been performing very well. Now, there is a reduction in their performance. CSOs and the Greater Virunga platform, which provides specialized knowledge and convening function, also are performing very well, but they are project oriented. If the project fails to get money, I don't know what will happen to those platforms. Katara Women Group, which provides direct community engagement, local knowledge, and mobilization, is working well, but it is based on the availability of resources that come from WWF currently. What happens to them? Nobody knows. So to note, the networks are actively, yes, and this organization of Batwa that contributes advocacy on land is about 20 years away. It was founded 20 years ago, mainly with the leaning on Batwa interests, advocating for land, advocating for benefits. As long as funding is available, they are active, but remain dormant when funds are low. So networks are active mainly when supported by specific projects, while regular coordination and collective activities are less consistent outside the project cycles. That is what we see in our networks. In terms of performance in relation to strategies and mandates, strategic mandates, these organizations have made important contributions within their respective areas. For example, HAMIO is a guru around climate change. But even if they have the expertise in other areas, they do not ever going there. So climate action is not always integrated into common advocacy framework, and there is a limited capacity to track climate-related outcomes and access climate finance. It is difficult to access climate finance because the outcomes of climate actions are not reflected in the overall climate common advocacy programs of the network. Nature-based solutions. All the networks have a common understanding of their potential to address nature-based solutions. However, the documentation, measurement, and policy advocacy around nature-based solutions are not very well articulated. So much as we profess that there is nature-based solution taking place, its outcomes, that is the documentation, measurement, and policy work, advocacy work, is not undertaken. In terms of natural resource management and advocacy, where the ENR, CSO, or the civil society organizations work, yes, they have substantial experience in that area. However, advocacy is often fragmented. It's often fragmented, and there is a need for stronger joint positions on key natural resource management and governance issues. Renewable energy. REXO has a growing opportunity for engagement on renewable energy. However, the technical knowledge, policy analysis, systematic design on maintenance are a key gap. On human rights and battle advocacy, which is undertaken by UBDU, Uplift, URP, Mugahinga Wind Conservation Trust, Kima Food. Yes, they are advancing those rights, but stronger evidence is required for us to be able to articulate the legal and the strategic litigation capacity is missing. Documentation of rights violation is also missing, and sustained engagement with the duty bearers is also missing. When we look at implementation of existing action plans, yes, implementation of existing action plans was found to be partial or even uneven and highly dependent on available resources and project opportunities. Some organizations have implemented some organizations have implemented a significant level of their strategic action plans. However, other planned activities have remained unimplemented, and the unimplementation is caused by financial resources, lack of financial resources, dependency on project-based funding. Those ones. However, the key finding is that action plans in these organizations are not always as active management tools. Yes. In some cases, they function primarily as planning documents rather than instruments of tracking progress, assigning responsibilities, and aiding resource mobilization. Many organizations have those documents and keep those documents in shelves. They do not follow it religiously. Why? Because amidst the way they come across funding for entirely different activities planned, which were not originally in the management plan, which was not originally planned for. Next. Network coordination and collective action. All the assessed networks have a strong foundation for collective action, but coordination, as the facilitator said, coordination remains one of the major operational weaknesses. There is limited joint planning. Have you ever attended any planning session for any organization? At least I know I've attended planning sessions for CANU. But so no. Any other? No. So there is no joint planning, there is no joint programming, there is no joint fundraising. Have you ever fundraised together? Have you seen a call and you all planned it together and sat down to respond to that call? No, you only. In addition, information and evidence generated by one organization are not always effectively shared with others. If Teams does something, Teams keeps it, shelves it, and doesn't share it. If another organization comes up with it, keeps it, doesn't, that style of work is detrimental. This limits the ability of the networks to present a unified position on major issues such as climate finance, biodiversity conservation, land and resource rights, nature-based solutions, energy access, and of course, the marginalized battle groups. Next. Institutional and governance performance. The networks demonstrated varying levels of institutional maturity. Some have established governance structures. Some have developed strategic plans. Some have policies which they prepare for meeting for. You know, when you see an application, they are demanding policies. You hurriedly come up with them and keep them. And yeah, they have experienced leaders. Others, particularly small ones and grassroots ones, have limited formal systems. Formal systems, these are the gaps. Some of them have outdated strategic plans, some of them have weak policies, some of them have limited gender inclusion systems, some of them have weak monitoring and evaluation systems. So, whereas there are those that are mature, there are those that are growing and still need support. Next. Yes, in terms of evidence, knowledge, and its use in policy advocacy, organizations possessed considerable field experience. There is considerable field experience, and they generate important knowledge through their communities. However, is that the conversion of that knowledge generated into policy influence remains problem. Many organizations have generated, they have outputs, outcomes. How to convert them into policy influence is the problem. So how do they lack? They lack data collection, documentation of community experiences, policy research and analysis, production of policy briefs and policy position papers, use of evidence in advocacy, monitoring of policy influence. These are limitations in some of those organizations that are small and upcoming. Next. Financial sustainability and resource mobilization. This is on and off. Financial sustainability is a major concern across the assessed networks. Most networks depend on donor-funded projects. The decline and the unpredictability on traditional donor funding has increased the pressure. So most of us are limping. Limping why? We have not looked at diversified funding. We have not developed joint proposals. We have not accessed climate and green financing. We have not engaged in the private sector to fund us. So those are the limitations of environment and natural resources, civil society organizations, coalitions, networks, platforms, hubs. The networks have significant opportunities for joint mobilization around the subjects I mentioned. Next. Comparative strengths of the network organization. The assessment demonstrated that the organizations possess complementary strength. Yes. Some organizations have stronger national policy advocacy. Some organizations have stronger technical expertise. For example, natural resource management, which is common with the environment and natural resource civil society organization. Some have strong grassroots and community mobilization capacity. So the complementarity represents one of the strengths of the broader network ecosystem. The challenge is to develop mechanisms for deliberately combining these strengths around shared priorities. When I did the sort to assess the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, there was a commonality in that the SWOT analysis demonstrated that the greatest collective strength of the network is the diversity and complementarity. We are diverse in our work, and we have different strengths at all levels. So this is a very good conclusion to the effect that the networks have a strong opportunity to become more influential platforms for joint advocacy, strong platforms for knowledge generation, strong platforms for climate action, and strong platforms for resource mobilization. As you can see, the priorities should be therefore to join forces to work on the 6 priorities, which are shared advocacy agenda, joint evidence generation, peer learning, joint resource mobilization, strong collaboration with government, research institutions, and private sector, and a clear mechanism for leveraging the comparative strength of different member organizations. Those are the seven areas around which we can later on reflect when we come to looking at the integrated capital plan. Next. So with that, we came up with a plan. That plan, we have strategic areas at national level and strategic areas at sub-national level. At national level, there are mainly 6 areas: strengthening collaboration, coordination, and collective influence of this organization, strengthening civil society engagement on climate action, promoting nature-based approaches, strengthening protection of climate change and environmental rights, especially for the indigenous peoples, increased access to sustainability, especially financing for climate action, and lastly, increase of the use of credible evidence, research, and knowledge to influence policy and decision making. Those are the 6 areas emanating from the SWOT analysis for the national level. And now, the sub-national level, we have 5 areas of interest. One is strengthening collaborative advocacy on Batwa rights, strengthening collaboration among CSOs on reducing duplication and fostering self-reliance. And the third one is strengthening community resiliency by reducing poverty-driven exploitation. The fourth one is to promote equitable, transparent, and inclusive revenue sharing. And the fifth one is to promote meaningful participation and representation, especially for the Batwa community. So these are proposals for national level and sub-national level. Ladies and gentlemen, I have come to the end of this presentation. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Augusta Chiinji, for the very powerful presentation. I would want to modify your presentation as open heart surgery. We're able to capture all the issues that we really discussed in the last meeting. Thank you so much, the team online. I see our participants online have increased by 11, and I saw someone clapping. So let's have those who joined us when Augusta was presenting, those online. Please, Viola, assist me to see those who joined us. Someone who joined us, I think Silva, you, yeah, Silva is there. I'll give you an opportunity. Please, Silva, confirm whether you can hear us. May you kindly confirm?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. That's
My
good.
apologies for joining late.
May you feel free to introduce yourself, please, if you don't mind.
Pardon?
May you introduce yourself if you don't mind? Because
my name is Silva James Birungi.
Yes, please.
And I work for WWF as a community conservation manager. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. On our agenda, you are supposed to give us the opening remarks, but we'll give you an opportunity at the end to give us the closing remarks. Where is online that Baki? Look, Machika is also online. Yes. Yes, Machika. May you please say hello to us, Senior? Can see online. Okay, I think he's unable to unmute. Where is someone? Samsung?
No, it is not that I'm not able to unmute.
Oh, yes,
I am here following and listening. Thank you so much, sir, for the moderation and Augusta for this great presentation. Over.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Thank you so much. We're happy that you're following. So Samsung is able to unmute. All right. So we also can come back in the room as the guys you were presenting. We had some people joining us. Those who did introduce themselves. I see my friend Richard there. Hamba, can you introduce yourself, please? Your name and organization.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
My name is Richard Hamba. I work with the team. Minister for Training, Education and Empowerment, but I work with the team, as well as Macquarie University and the School of Environment.
Right. Thank you so much. You're welcome, sir. Hamba. I'm coming back to the clock is sitting on my right side. Anna, please, you're not looking at me, but introduce yourself. Yes, your name and organization, because you joined when the others are introduce themselves. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Anna. I'm a prayer and
So, Anna, I think somebody also doing this.
Hello.
Yes, please, yes. Great. Thank you so much, Carol, and thank you everyone once again for joining us. So the technical team, research team, thank you so much, consultants, Mr. Augusta and Junior, for the very good work that you did. And this structure, I think that you were all very, very, very attentive and you were able to capture most of the points that were raised. I was happy with the issues, for example, with evidence, knowledge, and policy advocacy. And the SWOT analysis, the comparative advantage each one of us have, but also the weaknesses, the opportunities that we have, but also the threats that we all have. Then the other issues of the strategic implications is very, very, very important, but focusing on the strategic action plan. So when our agenda, we are supposed to have the plenary where each one of us is supposed to participate. I'm sure that when he was presenting, we took note of some of the points that you need to share with us. So I will give an opportunity to us online and those in the room to make your contributions to when he was presenting, what are some of the observations you made? And also, are there some supplements or suggestions that you want to make so that you can be able to have them captured? And with no particular order, you just let me start with those in the room, then I'll end up with those online. You just put up your hand. Start with those online. Okay. I've been guided that I can start with those online for purposes of leaving no on time. Okay, so let me start with I can see the chat room. Already, please kindly open the chat room to see any issues. Please open the chat room so we're able to see if there are any. So I can see someone online saying, good afternoon, colleagues. We will be starting in a few minutes. Oh, that is it. Okay. So someone is also apologizing my friend for joining in late. I will follow closely. Right. Paul Murindo, we can see your message. Okay. So please, those online, feel free to use the chat room. And in case you have any point, please feel free to put up your hand. We shall be able to see your hand and allow you to make your contributions. Okay. So since we have exhausted our chat room, allow me to come back to you. You just put up your hand and make your submissions. Yes, I started with senior team manager.
This one is not my name.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first thing would be the when we talked last time, we talked about also on pollution, part of the and very specific on plastics. I'm still worried about the plastics. And it goes all the way to national. But it's something that perhaps I see it. I don't know whether it's part of the others, but I don't see it something clearly. But I thought it was very important. Then on the when you talk, I think the analysis was good, the stories. And it reminded me of different skills, different levels of resources within these networks, both the lower one, but also for the national. And then I thought that one of the things that could be tapped into is the, okay, called it peer learning and process strengthening. But I thought it was like if we could have sort of a mentoring program that can enable within, either with the local to be mentored by the national, or even within the local, because part of the problem is that the solutions are with us, and sometimes we are not sharing them very effectively. So the idea of the mentoring program will be like, how do these people do their things that can enable us to do better? I was involved in a mentoring program that was regional, but I felt it was very good because even us who are this side were able to learn from Tanzania or even Kenya how they are doing that thing, but also the current. And I'm very sure it enriches because it is hands-on rather than taking in class and it. So those are the things I wanted to add. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Richard. Let me come to Adrian and come to you.
Thank you very much, consultant. One of the gaps that was identified was under institutional and governance performance, where, for example, the organizations at subnational have gaps in some of the systems. For example, inadequate financial management systems. So I don't know whether I saw it like a reduction plan, that issue, whether it is covered. If it's not covered, then there's need to also think about institutional governance and performance so that some of these grassroots organizations, especially they are foot soldiers, so their capacity actually can be built around that area. Because I think the consultant mentioned that sometimes when you go to some of those organizations, or most organizations, those work plans which are supposed to function are even shelved somewhere and they are just retrieved, meaning that they are operating without many reference to what had been planned. So if it's not there, it's important to put it there to strengthen these organizations. Thank you.
Very good. I'll go to Rachel.
Regarding one of the priorities areas of something that's highlighted, specifically collaborative resource mobilization, could you elaborate more an example of how that can work? And if it has worked, probably share examples of different countries. Because honestly speaking, like earlier mentioned, we are living in a very resource window. We're competing with each other. This is going to work together, but all that is together. We are listening to share example success story where it has actually worked.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's a good one. I'll come fast.
Thank you so much. So I've also just realized that that's what kind of actually they don't an example for the national perspective collaboration work is really for this. But the how is the action. I've just seen maybe in the subnational level, maybe what for the background, on an action, but the national level is more protected. We need to strengthen this with but how it's since the consultant I think we should be able to at this point how to trust that in this collaboration more action-related than let's see.
So much action-related as opposed to objective-oriented. Anthony?
So much. Now the issue with the fundraising was a big problem. But now the monies are returned to all of the government. I mean, money such as those from climate adaptation fund or some stuff like that. So the bit of it is that we have the limited health financing. Also, this intergovernmental. Depending on people, they are mixing the local civil society organization, like similar like from IUCN. IUCN, but from the other side, the guys around
give this opportunity. So that means that the local organizations have not taken the opportunity but it's there. Because there's some obstacles, it's grant and then sometimes non-best, which may not be so good for yours if it's the best. Because you not have a capacity. When you put that to the center, but just to say, then they shift towards business. So the point is that we can explore these channels. What will we do? This for water, this for pipes. And we need to push the projects that strengthening civil society action. That of something. And what we do, what closely whether what's the bigger was because this funds have 15 parameters, share standards, where most of our NGOs were not qualified, but big entities, like Oxfam, so they qualify because they have systems, which can check that in time. So there's a need to first with the collaboration among the civil society here, local and international. Then into the relationship with government. They do that by having MOUs. I've seen some of these states to have MOUs. The various principles. If you have an MOU, then it works best. I think every veteran has one. You are not using it. So if you yes, I'm serious. When I sit to the other side of that prayer. And that's what we look for. So let's use this the chance that guys have. For example, use that MOU to raise the funds. You get it. Once it's come, we push it in the pipeline. It's the unit is still very friendly. Let me put that one in quotes. Very friendly.
Okay, thank you so much, Anthony. Then you have Anna, then I'll go to Amber.
Thank you, the consultant, for the good work done so far. Unless I was out of the room, I think I will start on the stress, because I understand there was a scope that was undertaken. And I just focused more on the weaknesses. So I don't know, are there any aspects that we can hear from these networks? The opportunities, just like Anthony was mentioning, that those the MOUs that are existing that can deal with the appointment and networks. Yeah, and then also this integrated action plan, what's the name of the plan? Because we plan, that's maybe what's I need some education on what's the end game for this plan.
So much, Anna. Amber,
Yes, thank you so much, the consultant. I am trying to look at different roles that are faced by different stakeholders, especially focusing CSOs. I think we have a new angle of accessing financing. So somehow we are recognizing the role that's played by the private sector, supporting CSOs implement their work. I also learned that some CSOs actually playing a double role, doing advocacy, but they also active do some profit orientation, because in a way they're acting as social enterprise. So I think we try to elevate more of the advocacy, awareness, and education, which is the civic role for CSOs. But the way we are acting right nowadays, because we need to sustain ourselves, is another role or angle that we actually playing as civil society organizations that has a likelihood of the nature of the private sector, because we are earning from that to increase our financial base, but also we are playing the other role of supporting other institutions, because focus on the donor, the decline of the donor support. There's a new role that we actually play, and we have not yet highlighted this particular report. So the other funders who are purely supporting this, not advocates, they don't see their contribution that way. So how do we recognize that to improve the way we are reporting from a purely educative and advocacy approach to also a bit of social mobilization or fundraising of some sort from a profit-oriented kind of approach.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hamba. Hand up, please. Let's have, we have the team online. Please first go up a little bit. We have the team online. Thank you so much, team online, for the responses we have received here. Rita says there is a need to prioritize the possible actions for improving the CSO network collaborations within the available funding. Okay, then put timelines. Okay, I think I got that one right. And I also think there would be other potential and very active CSOs in ANR and within the operational landscapes that could be considered for assessment and networking. Rita is raising two concerns there. Shamira says, "Hello team, I propose that CSOs not well performing should adopt a strategy of benchmarking and good practice from well performing CSOs." I think this speaks to what Anthony Oriba raised about the need for benchmarking, and also looking at the big, what you can call the big boys, those that already have systems in place. Okay, that's a good one from Shamira, Shembo. Okay, now if anybody's view out, those online, please feel free to have your views come through. Any other question or suggestion that I left out in the room? This is for me. I remember that we during the meeting that we had, there was a very strong recommendation about the need for us to leverage, for example, digital platforms that we may have, each one of us that we may have, networks and hubs, so that we can be able to come up with a joint, advocacy and communication strategy, so that we can scale up the work that each one of us is doing. Because some people may actually be doing work, but their work is not really being communicated. And then also we are talking about developing that strategy. Maybe it could be like a capacity building, okay, on communication and advocacy. Okay. I see Hamba, before I come to you. Any other comment from online? Okay, so I want to remind us that please, those who haven't picked a cup of tea, please pick a cup of tea so that we can continue increasing our sugar efforts. Okay, so Hamba, Richard, please.
Yes, I think one of the other strategic factors that we not miss out, especially as CSOs, is to be able to elevate ourselves to a point where we can have center of excellence.
Yes, center of excellence.
Whether they are regional, whether it's a one joint national kind of thing. We keep on referring to private led initiatives that are centered. But in terms of collaboration, in terms of seeing that we're actually very intentional in terms of highlighting our efforts, and I think it's good. I think moving forward, we need to actually have centers of excellence, whether in forestry, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's renewable energy, and those kind of things. So what do we point to as our excellency point? If you're talking about a success story, I want to talk about success stories, but what can we speak to? Because historically, I think as we keep redefining ourselves, when there's no money, we forget all the efforts of Kanyo, forget all the efforts of teams. But if you had a center of excellence, you can keep on appreciating in that environment or zone that the performance at different levels, at different actors.
Good, that's a good one. Thank you so much. I hope that I've not left out anybody's concern, suggestion, question, Unity, you have something I see your fingers articulating. I know that your, for example, issue of strategic litigation, they didn't seem to, you're talking about mainstream governance and the, resource, but what about strategic litigation? Could you speak to that?
I think for me, it's trying to make my think the other state, I think the strategic plan is great good, but then what I'm going to achieve what I need.
Yeah, how big, great. Okay, that seems to be a meeting of minds about how big. Okay. Yes, Comrade Silva Birunji says, given the increasing shrinking civic space, how do the CSOs then survive? Haba, you raise that point. Think, can we think of actions and strategies that can empower CSOs, this platform or network, to cope or survive? Okay, cope or survive. The one is even cope or survive or thrive. How do we thrive? Yeah, that's a good one. You know, we are not on the deadline, but we're on the death line. We are on the death line. So how do we survive? Okay, that's a good one. Thank you so much, Comrade Silva Birunji, for that very, very, very powerful combination and asking what we need to really do to cope or survive. All right. So with those concerns, I am happy that has been yes, Akatenika.
Now moving on to other practices. The element of research. This one also highlighted. Whether it is the institutions or amongst ourselves, CSO. I think we need to strengthen that approach. As people are talking about how best we collaborate. Some people don't have the capacity to actually undertake data collection. Yet they actually have very clear data there. And that's why we feel in reporting. Sometimes I think just to have an productory basic research, when I do applied was just basically action oriented in a way that documentation of that sort gives us an industry template that's actually informing us on the performance based on how much we put into the center.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a good one. Please capture that. Elias, I know that you made the presentation and the presentation was very, very, very strong from the consultant, was very strong on the subnationals, the role of the hubs. Do you feel like your points were, is there a point you would like to make before we leave the plenary? Elias Schema Foods? We could hear from you because do you feel your points were captured very well? Elias, are you there? Paul Mulindra? Paul Mulindra, are you there? I think we Elias is able to unmute Paul Mulindra. Okay, so let me come back to the room and I'm going to give the opportunity the consultant to respond to some of the questions that we are posing, but also take note of the recommendations and the suggestions that were made that can actually even make the report. But remember, this is a review. It's a review meeting, and you're supposed to make, at the end of the day, make this report or presentation hours for the improvement of the process. So, Mr. Nessa, please, over to you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Elias, you're coming through. Yes, Elias. Unfortunately, we're unable to hear you. Okay. So please, Mr. Desta, over to you. You have the floor.
First of all, I would like to thank you, all of you, for the interest. Asking questions. Yeah, it reflects that whatever I've presented makes sense. That is something I should note. And now I want to approach the response in the reverse order, starting with the last part. Mr. Hamba has talked about the report not acknowledging, appreciating the role research does. Our civil society organization. I think we missed some parts of the presentation. Missed some parts of the presentation where I talked about the need to carry out the need to collaborate with the government, such organizations, and in the detailed report, there are ways how that is done. Sorry, I couldn't elaborate every point. PowerPoint, but if I'm allowed, I'll share the report so that we get links at least of how I took care of start. Survival of civil society organization versus reducing space. It is unfortunate, I can't answer that fully, but I think the shrinking space is related to shrinking donor funding as well. Whereas the space is shrinking in terms of paving way for participation, paving way for engagement, that space is shrinking. But there is also additional shrinking caused by lack of funding. Whereas, for example, Rexall would have loved very much to do its advocacy in a non-political arena, but because it lacks funds, therefore it cannot do what it is supposed to do. So I want to combine the problem of shrinking space versus shrinking donor funding, combine them and approach them together. So that if we are able to source funding, then we are able to undertake the problem of shrinking space. There is space that we cannot talk about today. Anybody who becomes critical of government, and that is our primary role to decide government. Anybody who decides who puts up his hand, whose head goes up a little bit, is crushed. So there is that fear. There is that fear, and I agree, and you don't know how to do it. So the best thing to do is to look for funds, and then we look for mechanisms of how to engage. Particularly, looking at the political dispensation going, how the politics of this country runs, we have to align with the PLO to get to know how we can relate with on environment and natural resources. Matters of environment and natural resources should remain unquestionable within the political arena. For example, if I am degrading the wetland, it should be a wetland and no politics attached. But now you are fearful of whatever will come up. You raise your hand up, talk about the European level of wetland money. So that is a little bit tricky for me to answer, Mr. Silva. Probably we can chat, we can discuss a little bit better. In terms of Center of Excellence, again by Hamba, yes. Yeah, we have tried our level best to establish centers of excellence in different CSO organizations. And these have remained. Another CSOs center of excellence in terms of managing natural resources concerned. However much you will you will stray away from environment and natural resource management. When you come back to environment and natural society organization, you will always find a core team that works on that thematic area. Thematic area on climate change, a thematic area on renewable energy, thematic area on forestry. They are there. But again, I have to make this very clear. We have to note the factor of dwindling resources is a very big factor. And as long as there is no money, no resources for doing additional and most especially advanced research, then the center of excellence is incapacitated. Richard again, timeline related to the action. I presented the objective kind of, but in the actual document of this CSO, we have activities that can be done to deliver us to that objective. So the timelines, whereas the timelines are still missing now, we have, if those activities, thematic activities are agreed, then those timelines can be worked out. And again, from the terms of reference that I was given, I wasn't allowed the mechanism of, you put a timeline to what? I don't know if the resource available. The problem I've talked about of projectionizing aspects. Is this going to be a project? Is it responding to a project? Or are we doing a plan that will help us to monitor our activity? So I can discuss this with Emily at a later stage for inclusion, and maybe get back to you to understand the nitty-gritty. Yes, we'll come back, recognizing the social enterprises in the plan. Yes, there is one or two elements that are covered, but not as elaborate as presented them. So this will help me beef up that argument, and it will be highlighted much more there. Anna, the SWOT analysis, the details. I'm sorry to say that I have a complete SWOT. I was not able to present it here, but if allowed, I can share this document with you, and you have a look at the detailed SWOT analysis, how the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, the threats of these networks, right? Both at national level and at national level and subnational level play, and how they were synthesized to come up with the final analysis, the SWOT analysis that I presented. So, can I finish first? Yeah. Anthony, yes, you talked about the availability of funding in the climate change arena, climate finance unit, the units therein, but and how people do not take opportunity of the money there is. I would like to say that this is one of the challenges we are having. You don't say you have money and set up. It is so difficult to get that money. To set the minimum, the basic minimum requirements that I should present to you before you give me the money. You make them in such a manner that I can never achieve. Yes, you sit there. Yes, you evaluate, but you know very well that PNR CSOs and their related networks can never qualify, cannot meet the minimum requirement. They are illegal. No? No? So it doesn't augur well to tell us that there is money, and yet you know we are not able. So let's look at mechanisms of how we are debating what this we do. Yeah? Let us look at, for example, audit report. Yeah? Do we have audit report in our own organization? No. No, nobody. And if you don't have an audit report, then qualify. You will have. But did you do last year? Yeah, that's okay. But does environmental have? ENRCS does it have? So we are talking about networks. If the networks here present only can you at 45. Yeah. Then I wanted to ask you a question to Adam. If you have an audit report, no. So you see, so institutionally, we do not qualify to ask any money. So how should we help ourselves to get that money? We have trained hands, can you example, and you do resources or funds. Rachel, success story, where have it worked? I'm not at this moment able to provide that, but I will look around. If it is there, I will possibly explain differently. Agree, inadequate financial system. I think this inadequate financial system can be again addressed if we do joint mobilization. Right? If we do joint mobilization and we get these resources, build our own capacity, slowly but gradually, we can achieve that goal. Yes. You asked about pollution and plastics. Yeah, pollution and plastics. Yes. And I think it is an issue for inclusion in the write-up. You also asked to learning and mentoring. I think it is covered in the report, only that I chose not to highlight that aspect of learning, mentoring, but it's covered. And then I had a question from Christine, who asked whether to define roles and responsibilities. There is a conflict factor in the report where I profile the different CSOs, the different network organizations, and therein I specify the roles and responsibilities. So I think it is fair that the report. So that's the topic that
Thank you so much.
Carrying them, facilities, is free.
Yes, you will. Thanks so much. Again, to add on, I want to try to see as issue.
How we can cope.
How can we cope and survive? Now, we have to acknowledge that this thinking civic space has actually, or it has come with opportunities and what is the opposite of opportunity? It's opportunities. Yes, opportunities and threats. Opportunities and yes. But on the opportunity side, there is what is called niche concentration. And I thank Mr. Robert and Emily for such an initiative. Because right now, if you are saying that there is climate finance under the climate finance unit, of which most of the networks and CSOs cannot or are not eligible, not meet the ability criteria. If the international organization can meet, then the question is, are you concentrating on where you think this? Are you your niche? Now, can CSOs reorganize or restructureize? Yes. Such that each network can, for example, if one to apply for climate finance, can we go through can you as CSOs? Because they are better positioned than others. Not. So the issue would be the shrinking space has come with important aspect of niche concentration and revisiting your activities. Are you better positioned to what you think, such that you can better compete? Yes. So as we develop this action plan as CSOs or as network, both at the national level and the sub-national level, we hope to restructure and reposition ourselves to see where can we come together to compete in a concentric manner. Not competing, but working in some level of synergies and increase of autonomy, such that we can tap in the few resources that are available.
Okay, so much. That's a good one. Without us competing, but synergize and tap in the resources that are available. That's a good one. How Richard?
Just to speak to that very well, before I go to the next. I hear junior but English word needs concentration. But I think looking at the different organizations, they have different objectives as institutions. So I think the concentration we're looking at by performing on each individual institutional objective as a contribution to the writing or crafting of the concept document. And it's actually for some of you might focus a lot on you might say we're all doing climate change. But in terms of project or program implementation, our focus on things. So our approach actually bring the youth element or component and saying generally that we are all climate change. Because we need to redefine ourselves in terms of deliverables. Yes. So I think the approach that actually changes at that output level. Secondly, I was looking at how we structure our reports and we emphasize SWOT analysis. But the SWOT analysis has some elements that started linked out. I wanted to borrow something called the PESO analysis as well. Because it brings in the political, social, economic, legal, either restrictions or strength as well. Because strength, weaknesses, opportunities and all that. We will not point out some things, but yet right now, CSOs are threatened at different levels. Socially, you may not engage because there are particular restrictions at some point. If you have to borrow from the former, that acts that we had before, I don't know if it's environmental perspective, Mr. Gaston has something to do. How we are performing, the legal restrictions, the political restrictions, where we perform and we are rebel organization. Because you're taking on government not to destroy or to degrade a particular forest ecosystem or a wetland. You get it? So the personal analysis comes try to bring out some of this, so we can have another angle of advocacy, like highlighting some of those issues. Yes, just to add on that.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Richard Hamba. So, okay, Richard, just a minute. Yes.
I want to part of this exercise, and for me, from my understanding, is what kind of a joint action plan. So if we do come up with, it's going to be implemented, or is it simply going to serve as a guiding document for each of us, the networks, to inform our plans as we plan with our implementation? How is this going to work?
I think when you combine your point and combine the topic point, things into what she raised earlier on the how to together. And since Christian has stepped out, please take note of that. Should be coming up at the end. So okay, so members, I really want to thank each one of us, and please join me to give Gasta Chidi a round of applause. Thank you. That was really good. The good work that we did, also taking the response very well. So number one, and those online, yes, thank you so much, Silva. You can see you are cheering up online. Number one, it is true that the issue of the work of civic engagement, civil society, civic engagement, which is embedded under Article 38, Unity Engagement Case. Article 38 talks about how do we engage. We are civic actors. How do we engage with government? Okay, and if you read the provision, Article 38 is put in a certain way that it allows us constructively, engage with the data bearers who are now the government departments and agencies. But we have all seen, as just as every brought it out, that we never win. The rubber meets the tarmac on the ground. So how do we now navigate that terrain of the unfavorable environment, but also the misconception that sometimes comes with the nature of the work that we do? So it's very, very critical. But Article 38 gives us the mandate as civic organization. Of course, we must also appreciate that, yes, the reason why we did the introduction is to understand everybody in this room is actually within the work that we do. Still talking about Article 39 talks about the right to clean and healthy environment. Article 39 of the Constitution provides that everyone has the right to clean and healthy environment. So we are fighting for this right. But what is our contribution as individuals, but also as organizations? When you look at Article 17, it gives every citizen of Uganda a duty to create a clean and healthy environment. So what we are doing really, we have to go back, okay? But sometimes how we go about it is really the challenge. Okay? And at that point, you have seen the ongoing campaign of the National Creativity Day. Maybe probably at the end we shall say, how do we now contribute to that? It may be probably as citizen, but also organization. Jimmy, I will come to you.
Actually, 17 specifically like J.
Yes, yes. I agree with you. There's a okay, so I can have the 17 what? J.
That's where we have a constitution
for creating a clean and healthy environment for every citizen. I agree with you. Okay, so now the last segment is on this that seems to answer the question that keeps coming up. What is the end game? How are we going to implement this? So I've been given a task by Christine that this should be from what we have seen on the presentation. Number one, how can we strengthen these networks and hubs? So we're supposed to come up with strategies from this room, okay? And also, what are some of the actions that your organization can take after coming up with these strategies? what can some of the action that the organization have or network can take, okay, as a take home. So, because we don't want to have these, points come up and just remain on paper, but the issue is how are we going to implement them. So question number one, how can we strengthen these networks and hubs? We need to come up with strategies, and I will give each one of us an opportunity to suggest strategies on how we can strengthen these hubs and networks. Some of them, we have listed them in the recommendations, was also that side there, but let them now come from us. So each one of us should be able to give a point. I will start with myself, then we'll move like that. You have less than a minute there. So one of them that I already propose is that we should come up with a communication and advocacy strategy, a joint communication and advocacy strategy to scale up our work. The question is, how can we strengthen these networks and hubs? So we need to come up with strategies. Role play?
A joint advocacy.
Before you go there, did you get this point here?
Yes, I've understood that.
Very good. So, each one of us is going to come up with a strategy, which is going to note down. Then we can now probably disaggregate them into clear cut. My proposal is that we need to come up with a joint communication and advocacy strategy to scale up our work. And I think that how is going to interrogate that, how it's going to operate. I think that's now another level. Let's first have these proposals, then now we can now see how can role play them, okay? Yes. So yes, put up that, yeah. Yes.
We are suggesting capacity building in some of the areas that GASTA noted in this paper, policy work, resource mobilization, some of the areas you mentioned. So if we could have capacity building in that to enable them to implement this action plan.
Okay, capacity building, thank you, Anna. Next, please, Andrew, just do around the capacity building.
Mine is almost the same as anyway, what has been outlined in the report or the assessment that the consultant did, we can look at some of those proposals. We don't need them to be higher, but actually action them and come up with a program, that if we are talking about doing fundraising, how can those suggestions or recommendations come up or be formulated in form of projects or programs to strengthen the work of these networks.
Okay, good. Formulate projects and programs. Next.
And also looking on the online platforms. I would like to cite an example, like given that increasing shrinking space, we are part of Cisco network and we have modality for engagements. But given now that you don't have the engagement story on an hour, so total online. So given the limited coordination plan and what they do that they don't like.
Good. Remember your name for yes, Carol?
CBAs to
capacity building on the caption. Please, if the point has been mentioned, we bring it some time when we leave it out. Yes, after that. Please, Richard, you have been ruled out of order. Yes, please, after that.
The number of proposals.
Just one. Just one, please.
The first thing to do is to, like my experience, to again network with other networks. Most of the networks, our networks are local based. But we have networks at regional, Africa level, international. Yeah, okay. One advantage of that is certain issues. Then the other point was again, this one was having strategic collaborations in the years, activities.
Okay, good.
Thank
you so much, Anthony. That's how you come last. No, you want to be
I want to contribute.
Please. Okay. Okay, please. You can. You can continue.
We can do everything. We can do so many things when we have money.
Yes.
So the source mobilization.
Okay. And should this one be joint resource mobilization?
Yes, exactly. Leveraging on those who have who are eligible.
Okay.
Fundraise. Leveraging on those.
Okay. Joint source mobilization with those who are eligible. That means we construct the sentence in a more very good. Let me have Mr. Rund here saying, I think having research-based advocacy will strengthen the network's engagement with government and relationship from such informed facts. Then the government can open up to and guide on how CSOs can support. Okay? So the issue of research is coming up, research-based advocacy. It's coming up, so I can capture that. Research-based advocacy. Very good. Yes, Rachel.
You covered the aspect of sustainability in all our activities.
Sustainability.
So, for example, if I don't know, I want to have exist.
Okay. Very good. Next, yes, community. Okay.
When you are talking, request us to come up with maybe 3, maybe 4. Now I see we are.
No, this. No, I was saying each individual. Hey, I was giving each individual. That's why I was limiting my brother Anthony, but I was not attention around more. I gave him more. But let's have him.
Before I come to mine, I would like to suggest that the issue of capacity building, it should be joint capacity building, because I see organizations do their capacity building at organizational level. But here, if you're building a network, I would suggest that let it be joint capacity building.
Very good.
And I would also want to submit that we should find a way of harmonizing our activities to avoid competition.
Harmonize activities.
To avoid competition, because we have competing activities.
Okay. Good. Thank you so much, Rominate. Having had that, let's go back to question 2. Hey, what actions can your organization take? Somebody talked about visibility. Does that not go to the question that I'm raising, joint advocacy and communication strategy? Strengthen what? Visibility, right? Or increase. People are asking how. We shall come to that, okay? Yes, Unity. Unity, please. That was your point, eh? Okay. So I was proposing joint advocacy and communication. By show of hands, how many of us have a communication strategy at the organization on network level? Accord has, TikTok has, Tunis has, Emily has, Pretty Watch has, and okay, good. Tunis has, yeah. So do you think that there could be some points that coordinate each other? Well, we would be able to have joint advocacy, especially leveraging what she talked about online. Madam, you talked about online. online spaces, eh? Okay, good. That's a good one. We have been able to come up with 11 points. Let's now go back to what actions can the organization take? What actions can the organization take? Okay? What actions can the organization take? So I'm going to talk individual organization actions. To answer the point that women has said, avoid the competition. Eh? Okay? I will go into a bit of division of labor actions. Number one, Mr. Hamba.
One, specifically focus on the organization. But I think what we need to do is in order to create relationships.
No.
Private sector.
No.
Of strength.
Allow me to stop. What action? What can teams do?
That's what we are actually doing.
Which one is it? Which one is it?
Create partner relationships with private entities. So bringing private sector in the related subsector, like for example, renewable energy. Because they're doing the work of, for us to do promotion and advocacy, we do marketing and sell. So there you have a win-win.
Was that not go very far? Yes, Richard. Yes.
Secondly, for visibility issues, where we create centers of excellence, we are appraised for this upon performance at that level.
Okay. So for visibility, talking about centers of
excellence.
Good. Thank you so much, Hamba. Next.
Understanding question number 2, the actions. Are we looking at what we have proposed and asking organizations to see what they can do in line with what we have outlined?
Yes.
Next page.
When you look at this, what actions can organization take? You have identified 11. So what you suggest should be coming from the 11? Eh?
I have a challenge. Some of us are smaller than we don't actually remember what has been outlined on that paper. Okay. So perhaps if you can flip it, and then members are given a chance to look at what has been outlined. And then they propose the actions in relation to what we have.
Okay. Okay. Good. So number 1, we said we need to look at joint capacity building. Number 2, we talked about formulate projects or programs to implement the activities or the proposed activities. Number 3, we talked about leveraging online platforms where we cannot convert physically, especially because of funding challenges. Number 4, members suggested that we should do network with other networks, for example, regional and international networks, in the work of capacity building and the benchmarking. We talked about strategic collaboration with the government MDAs, right? Strategic collaboration with government MDAs. Number 6 is talked about joint resource mobilization. Okay? Where possible, do joint resource mobilization. Number 7, we talked about research-based advocacy. This came from Silver Online, eh? Research-based advocacy. The other point that we talked about is the issue of sustainability. Sustainability aspect where a network doesn't rely on one person. Okay? Like if one person is not there, other the network can still go on. The other point that also was raised was the issue of harmonization of activities to avoid competition. They need to harmonize our activities to avoid unnecessary competition. Okay? The other point that came up was increase visibility for the networks and hubs. And then we also said we need to do joint advocacy and the communication strategy. Leveraging online spaces. Okay. So we are now looking at the activities which organizations can undertake, and we have already seen. Number one, Hamba has proposed creating a relationship, the issue of visibility. So let's have another organization or network proposing an activity that you can do.
That one is responding to sustainability.
Sustainability. Okay. Which one is responding to sustainability? Which one?
Creating partnerships with
Eh.
private sector.
Yes.
Is responding to the sustainability aspect. of
Yes.
the networks.
Okay. Good. Yes, Rachel?
Is it possible to place that somewhere? The first is.
This we shall hand over to the consultant. You want us to know to?
Must be paid.
Eh?
Must be paid.
No. Actually, this is my initiative of writing. I write this one for the consultant. It's supposed to be a taking notes. You want us to now pin on the wall? Think about us now. Watching, okay. Good. So the other activity, yes, please, Rachel. Yes, please.
What action can you, as architect,
yes,
propose so that we read from your example and the rest follow? What action?
Okay.
Of the 11 things we have proposed. Of them, what are you ready to undertake?
Good. So like I proposed a joint advocacy communication strategy by leveraging online spaces. I will propose periodic spaces.
Why are you not writing?
Propose periodic X spaces. Okay.
The moderates and somebody can hold the other one.
Hey, okay. Answer. So I propose periodic expenses for our activities.
So that is an action.
Yes.
Cabinet.
Yes.
So it is number 3.
Number 3.
Yes. Cabinet is proposing that it will do online spaces, blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Okay.
Then I also think Womenet can join you on the communication strategy, implementation of the communication strategy.
I would propose that I would suggest that you allow them to propose it themselves because this is like a committee.
No, I'm just. I'm not told you to buy it.
The consultant is being very categorical. Yes, 1 minute. Your name has come up. What are you proposing?
Actually, most of these good action points, but leveraging online platforms.
So what activity are you proposing?
Joint capacity building.
So joint capacity building, but without us losing that online, what you talked about online, since you are a generalist network,
As an action, using online platforms for communication.
Platforms for
communication, collaboration,
for communication. Good.
And collaboration.
And collaboration, eh?
As well as building partnerships.
Okay. So far we have teams, We have Agnet, we have Womenet. Next. Consultant, we need to step in there, otherwise your work is really getting much easier. Number 5. Number 5. Yes, Unity.
I really don't have one word to provide answer, but on building relationships and avoiding duplication between activities, I think we can do maybe courtesy visits. If you're a network, you can do courtesy visits for the organization, your network. So you're like at the beginning of the year, you're going to understand what are the planned activities for the organization of your network. So it's easy for you to coordinate them in case it comes up.
Okay, what is Greenwatch? Which activity can Greenwatch do that we need to capture here?
We already have courtesy visits.
Okay. So Greenwatch commits doing courtesy visits to the different networks. Good. Finally.
Research, communication, documentation.
By who? Free talk. Research. Communication. Documentation. And then what? Research, documentation, and communication, right? Dissemination. Dissemination. Good. So, can you give me the money? Can you? Can you? What are you committing yourself to? Jenny, I hope that you are capturing this because you are an assistant to Augusta. Otherwise, we are you are an assistant to Augusta. You should be capturing the points. So you populate them in there. Yes, can you? Thematic working.
But you can also it's the work of the role rather of working liaison between the government and sports side.
Hey, liaison.
So I expect there is to be
CSOs and the government.
Don't forget the online video.
Okay. So,
Online.
Rexo.
Project possibility. So, like I already mentioned, it's a broad, that is a broad area. Well, you see, we are looking at organizations having the influence and training. So that means you have to support them to come to that level. But then you also get into the technical people. For both the technical, but also for them, the hard skills and the soft skills.
Yeah, good. Rexo, review capacity building. CSNR, SONR. Rachel already proposed it. Okay. Okay. Huh? Just not committee or proposing. You see the consultant is going to give for this. Good. Are we going to and you put also the phonics online. Phonics online. We have just come up with 9 action points that we shall be focusing on. And in case there is anybody who is proposing an action point from your organization and you're still online, please feel free to share with us. I don't know, is anybody online? Elias is off, Mariba is off. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank you for this hectic exercise because I think we need to make your work much easier. So we have to now condense all that.
We had 11 suggestions, we only have 9.
Some we have condensed them, eh? Some we have condensed them, they'll be done by different organizations. Eh? The capacity building and kind of process.
For us, we are committing to youth, building the capacity of youth, organizing them, building the capacity, and deploying them to you guys as volunteers and
Okay, good. So Teams Uganda has also given us a booster on the need for youth engagement and ensuring that we really take them on
with money that comes from Accord.
Okay. You are mentioning Accord because the last one I wanted to go to.
Give us
So finally, the issue of what Silver raises, the issue of joint resource mobilization, how we can cope and survive. Okay. Already environmental right and the network and resource environmental natural resource network and proposal of money. We like to hear from Accord any commitment from the Accord. The issue of research is, I know Accord is very good with research. Okay. Research. Evidence-based policy. Policy. Research. Good. So colleagues, apart from the issue of capacity building that has cut across, we have come up with 11 proposed strategies and 11 action points coming from each of us. So what the consultant is going to do is going to populate this into digestible probably you can come up with a matrix. Yeah? You can come up with the matrix, the proposed actions, and then by who way. Person of so we're able to move on from this place. Okay, so that should be being done right now. That by the time we leave, you protect and show. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for actively participating in this segment of coming up with these proposals and then the actions for the commitments. Allow me at this juncture to invite our colleague and the founder, WWF, represented by my good friend, Silva Lungi, who has been online all the time, ensuring that this cooperation goes on as a brand. So, Mr. Silva Lungi, you had the opportunity of giving us the opening remarks, but now you are coming in to give us the closing remarks. But also, I want you to know that we really appreciate the support that you have given us as WWF, also to ensure we're able to have this activity. I have the power to do so. Christian has nodded. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to invite Mr. Silva Lungi to give us the closing remarks at this juncture. He's coming through online, so let's give him all the audience. Mr. Silva Lungi also comes up. Give him a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes.
Yes. I want to thank everyone, especially Emily, for organizing this. I take a lead on the top project, which is Together for People and the Planet. And the project is looking at strengthening CSOs and community leadership to drive inclusive conservation, civic space, equitable governance, and sustainable rights-based livelihoods in the Albertine Rift region of Uganda. So this particular activity falls under outcome 2, which is mainly looking at demonstrating and enhancing capacity of CSOs so that they are able to become resilient, navigating, coping, and expanding civic space, and of course, safeguarding fundamental freedoms. Yeah. So with that background, I note that one of the key outputs was to ensure that we have networks, new networks formed, and those that are existing are strengthened. Because we understand that several networks have been in place, and some of them have not been active due to several challenges. But we are happy that some of these are now being rejuvenated. And through the action plans that you're putting in place, we are very hopeful that some of those actions would be implemented. Yeah. So we look forward to ensuring that these actions are in place. There's also a saying that when we join hands together, then we can achieve a lot. So through these networks, CSO networks, we are very hopeful that we'll be able to address many of these actions and challenges that we've pointed out. So with those few words, I would want to send greetings from WWF, but also to officially close this meeting or workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Silva Birunji, and thank you so much, WWF. At this juncture, Christine, I want to invite you to make any administrative announcements and also give us the way forward. Madam Christine Batusa from Emily, she's much important. Give her a round of applause.
Yes, hello, Mrs.
Yes, madam.
Thank you. On behalf of Emily, I want to appreciate all of you for sparing time to be part of this engagement. We are want to collaborate and work together for the sustainability of our environment and for the future generation. We believe that through this action plan, coordination will be needed, because we all know where your beach is. So we can easily reach out to you, but it also helps in accountability. In accountability to know that this network is doing this and the other party is also complementing. So I want to thank you once again and to say this is done for you to buy. So I can you help.